Understanding legal domicile, fiscal domicile, and the whole visa process, and consequently the tax residency in Italy, could mean everything, not just for your future, but for your family and, why not, for your finances. Relocating to Italy is a pretty exciting and challenging journey for many expats, but navigating the pitfalls of legal and fiscal obligations can be very complex, more than what you're thinking. And this short video has the goal to explain the main difference between legal and fiscal domicile, the visa process, the tax residency consequences based on the Italian and the international rules. And understanding these, let's say, distinctions is the only way I know to avoid costly mistakes. In the Italian law, the legal domicile, the domicilio legale, and the fiscal domicile, the tax domicile, the domicilio fiscale, are very far apart. So please remember this, they are not the same, never. Legal domicile is defined by Article 43 of the Italian Civil Code. The legal domicile refers to the place where someone establishes the main center of their business and personal interest. And this is something you might find in almost every international tax agreement between countries, in Italy on top. It's primarily determined by intent, by assumption if you want, and can be different from the place of habitual residence. Fiscal and tax domicile, on the other hand, is regulated from the Article 58 of the Italian tax code. The tax domicile refers to the place where a taxpayer has the economic and personal interest and where those are mainly concentrated. It's essential, it's practice-based to determine tax obligations, and unlike the legal domicile, the fiscal domicile considers the factual location of financial activities and relationships, which may not align with a statement in the legal declarations. So, while the legal domicile is about personal and official by the book intent, fiscal domicile depends on practical and economic relatives. Now, let's focus on the immigration and visa process and consequently the tax implications. Obtaining a visa is the first step for, generally speaking, non-European citizens planning to move to Italy and willing to stay longer than 90 days. However, the type of visa and its conditions can influence but not determine the tax residency. Italy nowadays, it's November 2024, can offer several types of visa, including work, study, elective residency, and digital nomad. And each one of them allows a specified duration of staying and has specific, let's say, renewal conditions. And in general, securing a visa does not automatically make you a tax resident of Italy anyway. The permesso di soggiorno is something very close. After arriving in Italy with a visa, you must apply for the permesso di soggiorno. And while this, let's say, piece of paper allows legal stay in Italy, it does not imply automatic tax residency, even though it covers a time period longer than 103 days. So what happens with the tax rules in force once you moved? Strictly by the book, Article 2 of the Italian Tax Code, you are considered by assumption a tax resident when you register to the Anagrafe, to the Permanent Resident Population Registry, you have a place of abode in Italy, or you have the main center of a personal economic interest in Italy for more than 6 months. And meeting any of those conditions qualifies you as a tax resident, but once again, by assumption. So, assuming that now we have all the basic understanding, let's break down some key misconceptions I hear very often about tax residency. The first one is staying in Italy for more than 6 months automatically makes you a tax resident, no matter what. And this is completely wrong. While spending more than 6 months in Italy is a common threshold for a lot of people, it must be paired with one of the other conditions. For example, a foreigner living in Italy on a temporary assignment might not meet the factual residence or fiscal domicile criteria. Or on the flip side, staying less than 103 days ensures and guarantees you're not a tax resident. Well, spending less than 103 days in Italy does not guarantee exemption from tax residency and fiscal obligations in general. You may still be considered a tax resident anyway. For expats moving to Italy, international tax rate is often based on the OECD agreement, are the very main ally in avoiding dual taxation. And these treaties with Italy in this case typically include a list of the tiebreaker rules to determine whether or not you are a tax resident of a country A versus country B, to determine tax residency in general when an individual potentially qualifies as a tax resident in both places at the same time. So they take into account your home, personal relationships, where you work for, your employer, your clients, and so on. So why does all the list of things that they check matter so much? Well, learning the distinction between legal and fiscal domicile is so important, and every year is able to lead thousands and thousands of people in front of the court of the Italian court owning a lot of money for unpaid taxes. Well, many expats believe that holding a visa in their hand or just a permesso di soggiorno automatically aligns and comply with their tax obligations. At the same time, a lot of people assume that they can avoid Italian taxes just by limiting their stay in Italy less than 103 days. But what really matters, as we just said, is where you live, where you work, and where you carry on your relationship, where your ties are connected to mainly. In terms of tasks, I might say it's the first step to speak with an immigration lawyer, no doubt. Really, after that, we should get in touch with an international tax consultant, someone that is able to read the case, understand your goal, see where you come from, and be able to address a common strategy between two countries, not just one. To avoid surprises, you should understand the distinctions between legal and fiscal domicile and how tax residency is determined under the Italian rule, how assumptions work. Whether you're planning for a long-term move or a temporary stay, only consulting an immigration lawyer and a tax professional can guarantee you're informed enough and compliant with both Italian and international tax rules. This is a real case-by-case approach, not an average one.